Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our work session here on March 1st, 2020. Up first today, we have the fiscal year 21 popular annual financial report presentation. Yep, Michelle and Brooke, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I bet everybody's still wide awake, right? It's been a long day for everybody. Anyway, we won't take a long time. We just want to take a couple minutes and make sure that everybody is aware that we do have a nice summarized report, a more user-friendly report than our annual comprehensive financial report. And it's called Popular Annual Financial Report, or the PAFR. It is available and out on our website. So we're just going to take a few minutes and I'll let Brooke flip through some of the pages. And then we're going to hit high level detail, okay?
Okay, the first page is titled A Message from the City Administrator. It's got a letter from Scott that just highlights some key financial indicators. It answers the question, what is the PAFR? The PAFR takes financial information from the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report and puts it in a more user-friendly version. The goal of the PAFR is to increase awareness throughout the community on the financial operations of the city.
And one of the keys in getting the award and recognition for this is not only to make sure that we have it and is available somewhere readily, like on our website, but also that we are ensuring that we are saying certain things and making sure that we're educating and making sure everybody is aware of what it means.
Right, like this PAFR, one of the requirements is that we state that the PAFR is not audited, and it directs the reader back to the comprehensive annual financial report if they require audited financials. So the next page is about the city of Hagerstown, introduces mayor and council, lists the services provided by the city, and just gives some general information. This is a new page this year, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Explains what the American Rescue Plan Act is, talks about the funding the city receives, and lays out the 7 federal spending categories. Also states what we have spent as of 6/30/21, which was the premium pay. There's also a chart at the bottom that goes over what was obligated towards the end of the year, so coming in 2022.
And very nice job, our city administrator, Scott Nicewarner, actually mentioned this page earlier today in State of the City. And this is a page that we're looking to do, to try to create a chart in a more summarized version that we can have something readily available on our website to kind of keep current so that people know how much we were receiving, which was $20.4 million, and how much we have spent or how much we have obligated.
Financial structure. This page breaks down all of the city's funds by governmental, proprietary, and fiduciary. The only change this year was the addition of a stormwater management fund.
And governmental funds, primarily over 65 to 70% of all the funding source for governmental funds tends to be our taxpayer revenues, or our property tax revenue. And the rest, the proprietary funds, as we've mentioned in other meetings, we also call them enterprise funds or business type funds, and those are all of our utilities plus parking, property management. The monies that's generated there from the customers are to cover all of their expenses.
Financial results. This page focuses on net position. The city ended up with an overall net position of $218.7 million in FY21. There's a couple charts on here that summarize net position over 5 years, changes in net position from 20 to 21, and then a 10-year history. The general fund. This one focuses on the general fund. There's a chart that summarizes revenues, one for expenditures, and then an actual to budget at the bottom.
And the actual to budget at the bottom, this is a question that at least one or two people always ask. So the third chart down that says actual versus budget, general fund reserve, and there's a percent there. You'll see that the blocks for each of the fiscal years shows actual to budget. So at the end of fiscal year 21, our total fund balance was 38.7%. And just as a reminder, our policy is 17. And we recently, just last week, did have approval to go ahead and move and transfer some of our money from our surplus, which is the reason the general fund had that percentage, to go ahead and move that to 2 of our major projects.
Where does your money go? This is a visual of the expenditure chart of the general fund. Breaks out total expenditures, which were 47.1 million, breaks it out by percentage by type. So, for example, public safety was at 53.4% of total general fund expenditures.
And that is just operating side on that page.
Property taxes. This page goes over property tax rates, how they're calculated. There's a chart about assessed value, and it lists the 10 top principal property taxpayers in the city.
And just as a reminder, assessed value is actually determined by the state of Maryland, the State Department of Assessment and Taxation. So that's nothing that we are doing here within the city of Hagerstown or any of our staff are doing and completing. So they actually do all the assessments, commercial and residential. They provide us a file. And then what we do with that file is we charge our tax rate that gets adopted and approved later in May, this calendar year for the next year, and the bill is generated. Which goes to the next page. So last year, we included a page that just kind of went through and broke down what a utility bill looked like and helped the reader walk through that. We thought this year it would be good, since we were adding pages, to go ahead and add another one on the real estate tax bill. Again, there's numbers. We don't want to take the time to read every single thing, because I think that gets a little cumbersome, but there's very good information on here. So on this real estate tax bill, you'll see your parcel number and your assessment again. And then at the very top, there's a box that says payment due. So July, most common asked question, I think, is people get their bill and they see the tax due at the top, which says base tax due $1,061.79, and then you see it says payment due in July, and it's lower. The reason it's lower in July is because if you pay before July 31, you get a discount. Then August and September are the base tax due. You get, from the time we initiate the bill, which is July 1, you should have it, you have 90 days to pay it. After 90 days, interest accumulates. So that's why when you see July, August, and you start to see, once you get to October, it increases. It's just accumulating interest. So depending on when you pay it, will depend on what dollar amount you're paying.
And the vast majority of payments are in July.
Yes, especially a lot of the commercial, a lot of the,
Yep.
yes,
And escrows.
yes. Oh, yes, all the escrows in July. And then also, we wanted to make sure that we included somewhere on here about tax credits and other things that are available. Again, nothing that is applied and done here at the city of Hagerstown, but rather back through the State Department of Assessment and Taxation.
Capital investments and city debt. This one goes over capital improvement projects. There's a really great chart on this page that references the spend in each category by strategic plan goals. So that's kind of a different way to look at it.
And this is one of the few places that you will see this type of information. So the goals that are listed on this chart were the goals prior to the most recently adopted strategic plan, because this strategic plan would be for fiscal year 22 and forward. So these were the old goal categories. And we literally go through every single project and make sure and add everything up on total amount spent, and then put them back through the categories here. The amounts that you see in each of the spend are only on the capital side. It does not reflect anything that we've spent on the goals on the operating side. But again, this is a really great chart, and one we wish we could do more often in other places, but this is a very awesome thing to have at your fingertips.
Featured capital improvement projects. This is a new page this year. We just picked 4 projects. We picked Vazel Boulevard, Pangbourne Lake, fire breathing apparatus at HFT, and traffic signal upgrades at Mitchell Avenue. Just goes into a little more detail, kind of highlights a few of the major projects and has actual spend.
And it also provides a nice picture, a visual, so that people can relate where it is, what it is.
Understanding your utility bill, this is also the same from last year. The only addition is stormwater protection program fee is on here that explains that in a little more detail.
And in last year's copy, when we did this, we actually had a note at the bottom that says coming in fiscal year '21, so we left that information on there, mentioned it again, and then made sure that it's clearly identified as item number 8 with information on here about how that's calculated.
And then finally, we were awarded the GFOA Award for Outstanding Achievement in Popular Annual Financial Reporting.
Yes, I believe Mr. Wes Decker is in the back, and we had a conversation earlier about just that fact.
But I just want to take a minute to recognize Jeff Lear and Brooke Boo, who are our senior financial accountants, for their help on this.
And I want to recognize Brooke Garber. So the three of them, actually in the month of December, did this entire document, which doesn't seem like much, but it is, and around the holiday season, right after we're finished with audit, but my department is also preparing and doing all the legwork for budget. So got a lot done in a little bit of time, but this is very important, and we're very excited that we can do something like this and make it publicly available. And
Michelle, yeah, where can people see, where can they grab this
It's right now, it's on
information?
the Spotlight on the city webpage, but it's also under Finance Annual Reports on the webpage, historical too.
yes, so they will be out there for the next 10 years as long as we continue to do them. We'll be able to see the current plus the prior.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, we have a request for exception to city water and wastewater policy for TC Mid-Atlantic Development.
Good evening. So this is just a follow-up to last month's work session that we had on February 8th regarding Trammell Crow's development that's just north of Route 40 on Route 63. We had some two changes in particular regarding the draft motion that you saw last month that we wanted to review with you. The first would be, I don't know if, Nan, you want to review the first one?
Yeah, the first one is modifying the language in what will be the 5th sentence to, as opposed to saying restricted to 2,400 gallons per day, it has been amended to say 2,400 gallons per day is the anticipated usage. 2,400 gallons per day is consistent with what was in the request from the county commissioners to this elected body. But we did remove the word restricted.
And then the second change is in the, I believe, the 7th sentence. Previously, it read, "The approval requires a pre-annexation agreement with the city of Hagerstown." The new sentence would be, "Submittal of a pre-annexation agreement to the city of Hagerstown is required prior to approval by the Utilities Department of the request of water service on the site plan per the requirements of the city's annexation policy and water and wastewater policy." So it's just more relating to the timeline.
So, and I'm fine with number 2. I think maybe I'm trying to envision 20 years down the road that we're not, or not we, other folks aren't sitting in these chairs at that point, when the possibility arises that these types of buildings, because now that we're getting, a plethora of them, decide to be other things, that we don't then wind up short, because these are really big buildings that are asking for a very small amount. And so I'm okay with removing the word restricted to 2,400, but I'm just curious how at any point we may set a ceiling.
Well,
This is only for this company, right? I mean, it's specific
Well-
to the company.
Just this one property for this one ask. I guess I'm I guess I'm curious, let's say 20 of these things get built, right? And right now, they're functioning the way they are, and they need such limited EDUs. Let's say 20 years down the road, now suddenly, they convert to some other purpose, right?
Yeah, every property, when, as part of the site, every property that's being developed as per the site plan approval for water or waste, for city water or wastewater services, identifies the allocation, and that allocation capacity in our system has to be paid for before the service. So every property, regardless of where it's located, there is an approval for allocation on it. If
Right.
it's in the MRGA, of course, it doesn't come. What we're looking at in the future is what we'll be bringing back, we'll start discussing next week, and we'll be discussing it as many times as necessary, is how do we manage capacity?
Right, because I think in a recent prior report that you provided to us, we've pretty much went up every year. In other words, when you go and reevaluate what folks are using, especially our larger users, you're seeing an increase, and what you do is you bill them for the additional allocation, right?
Right,
We don't say, hey, you've got a ceiling, we just simply bill you because the expectation is it's always going to be there and available to give more. When we're
Correct.
reaching a ceiling within those systems, I'm just curious.
That'll-
Maybe
yeah.
you've answered the question by saying, we're gonna have to look at that, because to me, 2,400 today can't mean that it's whatever it needs to be 10 years from now,
And we-
without any sort of coming back in some process,
correct.
for some availability to be there.
Correct, and we've already seen that even with a warehouse. The warehouse, it's Trammell Crow on Creighton Boulevard, has a very, very low allocation and are using an incredible amount of water because the functionality of the warehouse, still warehouse, but what, the business that they do there is very different, with the chillers and all of that stuff than just I'm gonna say a dry warehouse that's just, boxes and dry stuff,
Right.
no food, no anything like, no coolers. So we've already seen it with the warehouse, at least one warehouse as it exists right now today. But like I said, that's a much larger discussion that we have to work on both the water and the wastewater code to restrict allocation and put a process in place to come back for allocation.
And I think a good example of that, as it applies to somebody looking at it in terms of change over time, let's take the Valley Mall, right? So the Valley Mall had these huge anchor stores, which were really big department retail stores. They might have had a restroom in one of them, maybe, the Bon-Ton or Sears or whatever would have been there. Now some of those areas are fitness centers, which clearly probably demand a much higher level of need for that utility service. So what folks envisioned the mall to be 40 years ago, whenever, all of that occurred, is clearly now different and going to require a different level of EDU. And so to me, the 2,400 can't be, a nebulous figure, if we don't start establishing things, ceilings for things, moving forward, because everybody's seen the report that there is a ceiling for the total amount they have.
Correct, and that's something, and our goal is to have all of that in place, in July of this year.
And with due respect to all these developments happening outside of the city, I don't want to spend all of the city's water and sewer allocation on properties outside of the city.
Correct. Correct.
Are you guys okay with the changes to the motion?
Yes.
We'll be back for special session next week for a vote.
Thank you. All right, update to the agenda process.
Yeah, just want to give you a really brief update. One thing you will see in March when you get your packets will be a new purchase contract and consent form. With the passage of the 2021 through 2024 strategic plan, we thought it'd be a good idea on consent agenda and eventually moving it to all motions as well, to be able to show the public where, how the expenditure would meet a focus area and goal statement from the mayor and council. So we added that to the back of the consent form, where the approvals usually are. So just something for you all to be aware of. If you want to know what the purpose or what the foundation is behind the particular expenditure and how it relates to your goals and objectives, you'll be able to see it on the back, as will the public. So just wanted to update you, for that.
Thank you. Any questions?
Taking credit for it, right?
All right. Review
That's
of
just like taking the
annexation
credit.
agreement for 14 Western Maryland Parkway. What? That's him.
Whenever you were like, thank you, I made this.
I meant thank you to him.
Good afternoon.
You said-
We're here to, good afternoon. We're here to go over the annexation agreement that's been drafted for 14 Western Maryland Parkway. And this is a vacant tract of land that's on the east side of Western Maryland Parkway between West Washington Street and US 40 on the west side of town. The buyer of the property is proposing to develop the property with a warehouse, surprise, surprise. And they want city water and wastewater, and in order to do that, per our annexation policy, they must annex because it's a contiguous property. So we have been negotiating with the property owner on an annexation agreement for a while, and we've come forward now with what we believe follows the direction that we've received from the mayor and council. We just want you to review what we have here, and if you're ready, we can have it on for approval next week at a special session. So the agreement that we have has all of the typical language that we put in annexation resolutions and pre-annexation agreements for those properties that are not on our border, but would have to annex in the future if we grew out to them. But it also has four unique items that we crafted for this specific annexation. The first being for the timing of the annexation. The annexation process would start within 15 days of the owner receiving their county building permit. And so then, that's when we would start, after that point, which is unique to this process. Secondly, the site plan for the county approval will be modified to better conform to certain agreed-upon city development standards which differ from the county's development standards. This will be a city property when they annex.
And we have negotiated.
Yes, yep, and it's attached to the document. And then the third item is the building permit to the county will be modified to incorporate a two-way radio communications enhancement system so the public safety radios will work inside this large concrete and steel structure. And it's not a requirement of the county building permit, but it's something that we feel is very important for the safety of not only of our staff when they respond to emergencies, but whoever's in there hoping to be saved from an emergency. Because we know from the Meredith building and from other warehouses, once they get inside, they can't communicate. They have to go back outside so they can communicate with somebody, and that's just, in an emergency, you don't have that kind of time. And then the fourth item, all development or construction-related plans or permits pending with or approved by the county as of the effective date of the annexation resolution will remain subject to the jurisdiction of the county for the purpose of inspections, release of performance surety, posting of maintenance surety, issuance of final use and occupancy permit, and the like until it's completed. If they apply for any permits after the annexation becomes effective, and the annexation process takes 5.5 months, at its most streamlined. And so they have all that time as well to be pursuing permits if they need it. But if it comes in after, then per this agreement, it would be subject to the city. We've shared this information with the county staff, our counterparts, and a question was raised of, well, sometimes trade permits and so forth, they don't come in at the beginning, they keep coming along the way. And I said, well, if something comes up that the county has concerns about, we can play it by ear and see how it goes. Rather than being, like. So that's what we have in here, and we feel that it does follow the direction that we've received. And just wanted to know if you had any comments, or are we ready for approval next week?
I think it covers what we asked, for sure. It was good?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. That was easy. All right, placement of the helicopter at City Park.
Yeah, I wanted to give the mayor and council an update. Back, I believe it was in January when we, or when you all discussed this the last time, we brought up the concept of maybe getting the neighborhood and the veterans together to talk about the project, because we didn't think there had been a dialogue between the two. And very gracious enough to have the Neighborhood's First Group for South Prospect Street and representatives supportive of the placement of the Huey helicopter at the monument in here on February 17th. It was spirited discussion, but those that were that are in favor of the helicopter were able to express their plans, their thoughts, their stories, and the reasoning behind why they felt it was very important to have that helicopter placed at that location. By the same token, the residents of South Prospect Street were able to explain their concerns on having that structure there, mainly the view out of their backyard, the potential for vandalism of the helicopter and what would result from that, and their feeling that it just did not fit with the overall style and the beauty of the existing monument. Discussions were had. There were no real solid results of the meeting. I think just the fact that each were able to present an understanding to each other or present at least an opinion to each other, I think was constructive. Thank Councilmember Martinez for being there, not necessarily in your role as a council member, but to keep the discussion going. Thank Eric, Rodney, John Kearns for being a part of the meeting. But really, I think where you're at now is a yes or no. I think it would only be fair to these folks that that a decision be made, and if it's yes, they can move forward with doing what they need to do to procure the helicopter and get it going. If it's no, then they know that the helicopter won't go there, and perhaps there are other alternatives that they could come up with. But I think it's probably time that that the community knows what the plan would be from your perspective, and for the Vietnam Monument folks to know as well. But I appreciate the discussion. It was not only educational, it was eye-opening to hear the stories from, and it was affecting too. Would you agree to that?
Yes, I would.
It was affecting to hear the stories that were provided, and I know that's one thing I heard from the neighborhood folks was that, wow, that it's a very powerful story. But there still remained a disagreement as to how that story should be presented, and it's tough. It's tough. So that's pretty much how the meeting ended. And council member, I don't know if you want to add anything to this.
I would just agree that it was a very necessary dialogue. I felt like, I don't think that everyone all the way understood why they were so passionate about wanting to have a helicopter there until they started to tell the stories. And it was very impactful and very emotional to hear, their personal connection to it. But then also to be present and hear the community actually say, I came in with one thing I was gonna say, but now hearing your story, and the questions that were asked, tell me why this is so important to you. So yeah, it was paradigm shifting for me.
So that being said, there was still not a consensus to agree to place the monument? I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's like this emotional impactful thing, which
Right.
obviously is
And so what
the reasoning behind the placement of it.
What kind of the community were saying was, how about, thinking of something to tell that story, to tell those stories, because for the community, it was like seeing a helicopter there does not tell or capture what you guys just shared sitting here. And so there was some discussion of how to maybe tell that same story, maybe a smaller one, maybe, but there was not any consensus, and they were still very adamant about not wanting it in their backyard.
And I mean, we have a studio that we could use as well, and I know Scott, I believe you offered, or at least we had talked about, being able to share those stories in our studio, create some sort of, documentary or something.
In conjunction with the existing monument.
But yeah, I think I would suggest it's time to either, do the proverbial fish or cut bait on this and allow them to move on and do what they need to do, and allow the community to move on and do what they need to do.
So what do you guys think?
I'm still in favor of letting them, if they can put it together, letting them have at it and figure it out. Put their helicopter up.
I'm not in favor of a full-scale helicopter, but I would like other suggestions to tell the story, but not a full-scale helicopter.
Can you speak up, please? Can you speak up?
I'm sorry, I said I'm not in favor of a full-scale helicopter, but I would like to see another form of representation for that monument site.
I have one question. What would your form of representation be?
Well, that's a conversation we can have for another time. This is just a conversation for us to decide if we're gonna move forward with this or not. Shelley, Kristen, Takesha.
You were there.
Yeah, and I'd like to always understand and hear both sides, and hearing the community side as well, and people that have purchased homes and, over in that area because of the park across the street, because of the trees, hearing, some of the people that have to look out back in their backyard. I don't want to be the one to have to say yes or no to something when I personally don't have, a personal connection. But hearing both sides, if I was a homeowner and I didn't want it there, I would want the city to respect that. And that's just personal for me. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
I've said, when living near the Korean War Memorial, I know what it's like to have a placement, to have something outside of your home that is sometimes in your control and sometimes not. So this is nothing against the experience and the stories and the emotional impact and everything that, like Councilmember Martinez says, is I've read about, I've never experienced, and but I do know what it's like to be that homeowner. So I am not in favor of a full-scale helicopter.
So I think for me, and I've said this from the beginning, this isn't a city effort to construct or place something on city property. This is a third party respectfully asking the city to place something on its property. And so in that regard, it's a little different. And let's take the pod. Public had all kinds of opinions on that particular thing that we put in the park, but that was a city action that the city was taking to place something on the city's property, right? And so when we had a prior meeting, I said, I'm not going to be the arbiter between private interest and private property owners. So if I'm not going to be the arbiter of that, then I have to say to myself, well, what am I in this process? I'm the property owner. And so the first thing I would want to do as a property owner, if it were my house, let's say, I'd want to respect the impact that I'm having on neighboring properties. I mean, for me, it's no different than what we do with zoning or anything else, where we say, hey, there's a reason that you have gas stations at certain places and hotels, and you have houses in neighborhoods. So when I look at that, I say, okay, what am I doing to affect or impact neighboring property owners? And I think because it's not a direct city request, with great due respect, I have to respect the impact I'm having on the directly impacted neighboring properties. And I think they've clearly said that. And so for me, I'm not going to pick, you know, the winner or loser of that, but rather simply respect the opinion of the neighboring property owners that are most directly impacted every day on the investment they made in those properties for the duration that they own them. And I know that we talk about, well, you know, we've had folks come up here and talk, we've had folks come in and express opinions at the meeting that are directly involved with the idea or directly opposed as neighboring property owners, but I cannot stress enough the number of emails and communications that I've gotten on a much broader scale from folks that live in the city, not in this area, live outside of the city, you know, one way or the other. In fact, I don't know if the rest of the council or the mayor got the emails. It was about a month ago where we had one retired military individual that sent an email and said, hey, you know, I fully support this, you should do it, et cetera, et cetera. And then the very next day, we got another email from a retired military individual that says, I've been involved in these projects before. You're going to have to deal with, you know, who manages it 20 years from now, who's going to maintain it, you know, et cetera, you know, and was opposed. And it was interesting to me to hear those two very dynamically different viewpoints from two people that weren't involved in the process at all, express those from a military background perspective. So I want everyone to understand that we haven't just heard from just the people directly involved, from just the people that have attended these meetings, but we've heard from all kinds of people across the city and across the county that have provided thoughtful insight, you know, both for and against this. And so, to me, at the end of the day, I have to look at it and say, I'm the neighboring property owner. You know, I have to respect the wishes of my neighbors because that's the neighborhood in which I have that property and impact in it.
Okay. So I guess we will not be proceeding with a full-size helicopter at the Vietnam Memorial. Can regroup after that.
I have a question. So is that no from Councilman Alcar and no from Councilwoman Martinez? I heard the other one say specifically.
Are you asking me if I'm in
you're voting
favor of
yes or no?
putting it there or not?
Yes, I'm asking if you're voting
No,
yes or
I'm not
no.
in favor of it.
Okay, you're not, okay.
This is a time for
I'd be happy to
us.
engage you in conversation outside of our meeting.
Yes.
And I'm sorry,
Thank you.
what is Councilwoman Martinez's vote?
No.
No?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, I just wanted that.
Thank you. All right, up next, we're going to have the indoor turf, our field house advocacy discussion. So I would like to request that we enter into an agreement with Compass Government Relations Partners. They are a lobbyist in Annapolis to help us with the specific issue of the Hagerstown Field House. We have a motion in here tonight if you guys are willing to move forward. As we know, this has been our legislative priority. Washington County also has a lobbying coalition that is working on several different projects, so this would be to help us secure the funding so we can move forward with the field house.
Thank you for hearing us.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay. If we could get a motion to go into special session then.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Takesha. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a approval of government relations engagement agreement with Compass GR Partners.
Madam Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of a government relations engagement agreement with Compass GR Partners. As stated in the scope of work, Compass Government Relation Partners LLC will represent the city of Hagerstown to obtain capital funding for an indoor sports facility. The city of Hagerstown is pursuing state capital funding for a $22 million indoor sports facility project. The term of the agreement is through April 30, 2022, with fees of $20,000. There is sufficient funding in the general fund legal counsel's FY22 operating budget to cover these costs.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. City Administrator.
Mayor, I just want to thank everyone that was involved with the State of the City today. Been to a lot of these over the years, and I appreciate the frankness and straightforwardness, of which you answered some pretty pointed questions today. I think that is something that is lacking around, not just around here, but around all over these days, and I really appreciate that. I think that was a true service to the residents, and I hope folks watch it online and on cable when it's available. So I just wanted to say thank you. Big shout out again to Wes Decker, Eric Hastings, the guru of the video, and thank you all for your participation as well. That's it.
Councilmember Martinez?
I just want to say the fifth quarter event by Envy was amazing, and the children, the youth were very, very excited. Earlier that morning, Kiani and I passed out flyers and donuts to some North High students going in. We actually had a couple of them come to Goodwill on Prospect just because of that. And just want to say Paul Fry and the race and Mrs. Fry using racing in the chairs, the rolling chairs, straight through the cornhole games was amazing. It was very exciting at the two locations that I was at. So thank you for your hard work and your leadership, Councilwoman. And also Fresh Academics had a hip hop show and graffiti show, and it was awesome at Hub City Vinyl. Have you guys been in there? It smells just like records and 8-tracks and all that stuff, and it was good. Like I walked in, and it kind of made me feel like back in the day when I would go in Tower Records, and was like, you know, it's not like it's not like a record store and a bookstore. It just was like, wow.
Musty smell.
Yeah, like a musty, dirty, you know? Like, yeah. And happy birthday, Councilwoman.
Thank you. You would fit right in. You should go there tonight.
Yes, you look, man. Oh,
You should literally just go hang out
I
there.
just walked out of the original one.
You just,
That'd be a perfect album cover.
yes,
Is it my turn?
yes, yes. Usually Bob's the one that we're making fun of, so you should feel appreciated.
Okay.
Well, we are.
So, I'm just gonna make a couple of remarks on the state of the city this morning, and as I said this morning, I'm gonna try and say this right, it may come out wrong. But a couple of comments. One, thanks to staff for making the video. I thought, Mayor, your energy in it was very welcoming. Gone are the years when we would put up budget numbers and talk about water and sewer facilities. Those were very boring days. Exciting to me, but very boring days to the rest of the viewers. So, and with that, I wanted to say the second thing is, I think what I noticed from that video and what I've noticed, and somebody made, there was a lady that came up to me afterwards that made the remark about, you know, sort of the teamwork awareness of this body, this current mayor and council, and I think the video highlights that each of us sort of have filled into our various strengths of roles, and I recognize that mine is not the public events and ceremonies and showing up for a lot of stuff. It's in the, you know, the bits and pieces of documents and analysis, and I appreciate that you appreciate that, but I wanted to make sure you were aware. I also appreciate that you guys bring a level of energy that, you know, us guys just don't deliver. And so it was clearly present in holding up our paper and the shade bobblehead faces. So I just want to say that I recognize that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last thing I'll say is, you know, I know there was a question there at the end, and it had to do with, you know, a Herald Mail article that I'm sure none of us probably read as of 8:30 that morning and had any idea sort of what it was referring to. And in left field, and I can't read it because I'm not a subscriber. But one of the points that was made was, you know, that this was an uncomfortable or sensitive question, and I think we did a very good job of answering a question about something none of us had read. And I think it's because of this, you know, there are no uncomfortable questions at this table. If you're uncomfortable with the questions that have come to this table, you're at the wrong table to begin with. And so I think that we have done well to address that. I think folks heard that in the room, and so I think that resonated from all of our voices, and again, I appreciate that.
Take it back, I really like your outfit.
One of your toes.
Birthday girl.
Yes,
Yes,
happy
so,
birthday.
Yes, the state of the city, I wanted to snap
You're
my
retiring
fingers
soon,
and say yes. I've mentioned that before, like, this is the first time that you guys heard it, but I want to retire at an early age, so I'm speaking to it. No, the state of the city was amazing and actually, like, really inspiring. And again, I wanted to snap my fingers and say the yes, and Takesha and I were over there like, amen and hallelujah, we forgot.
Yeah, it wasn't
we
at church.
We thought it was church, it was such a great production, so thank you, and to the staff for putting that together. This past Saturday, I was invited by the mayor to attend So You Think You Can Drag at the Black Box, and I took the last parking spot of the parking deck. Like, we squeezed in there. It was a full night. It was a production at Maryland Theater at the same time. That show was great. I want to go back again. So much fun. And then this Sunday, I attended Impact Church Ministries to present Mr. Samuel Key a recognition award for his service for NAACP. And I read that recognition the first time ever, and I was nervous and shaking. So hats off to you for doing what you do.
know why I shake.
I can't. Let me just be in the back. I think I did okay, but I even said I'm shaking, like on film. But anyway, thanks.
Thank you for being there.
Oh, and thanks for all the birthday shout outs. My phone is blowing up, so thank you.
Well, I think you all pretty much said it all so far, so I'll just echo your sentiments. You know, the state of the union, the state of the city was very good, and it was well planned out and well executed. Everybody played their part. And Kristen, you are 100% correct. If you're uncomfortable with coming to this table and sit at this table and to hear the truth from those who present at this table, then you don't belong at this table. So, thank you very much for a great state of the city. And
About to cry.
Oh, my gosh.
someday you'll actually top my favorite one. I haven't done that. You got a long way to go, though, so you'll have plenty of opportunity.
Is it one that you did?
It's the one where I walked into the Hager House and out at University Plaza.
Oh, wow.
In the opening. That
Don't
was,
challenge her.
that was
you
cool.
know. You
That
know.
was cool.
Game
You gotta
on.
watch it. if you haven't seen it.
Helicopter.
It's a good one.
Clock tower.
Yeah, you'll need something like that, yeah. But anyway, no, it was good, and you know, and the questions were good, and there weren't many, as you could tell, because we covered a lot.
Yes.
You know?
That was odd.
So that, yeah, because, you know, and I truly feel that not only those who attended, and hopefully those who watched the video on our city page or wherever we're showing it at, I'm sure there's a couple different places.
Come on.
But, yeah, I hope people get excited,
Yeah,
because this is a damn exciting time for us.
it is.
I think it was impossible to not feel that. I mean, we every day are encouraged and inspired to do all of these things, and we see everything that's happening behind the scenes. But in that room, you could just feel that energy take place. You could see that kind of I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna feel good the rest of the day because the city is on. I mean, it's just fantastic everything that's happening. So, and whoever decided to put those crime statistics up there, hats off, because that was squash that question. I mean, that was brilliant, Mayor Keller, brilliant. So, it was energetic, it was fun, it was just really exciting to have what we feel just exuded through that video and see everyone else. And thank you to HPD and Goodwill and, for the fifth quarter Envy event, and to the Boys and Girls Club, I mean, we had 226 youth throughout the city that were out of trouble that night. And they stayed until midnight. You know, South High, Tim Morrow, I promise they'll do a documentary about that man one day.
Yes, they will.
It was fabulous, and Envy is having a debrief this week. We anticipate being able to do it, you know, hopefully once a month, maybe concentrated a little bit more, but it kept our city's youth a little bit safer that night. So I think that it's big things to come. So anyway, thanks to all of you for showing up and TikToking and all the games, and I mean, it just warms my heart, so thank you.
So yes, I was done, by the way.
You were.
Yeah, I want to echo, I'll start with the Envy event. It was absolutely incredible. And just for the record, Takesha and I and our group broke the record for the escape room and then made a TikTok. So I'm pretty sure we won the night with the kids. But it truly was a great night. I got to go to South High, and there was kids playing cornhole and basketball and volleyball and all types of stuff going on. So well done to you and your group, and thanks for inviting us to participate. I too wanted to talk about the Black Box Theater on Saturday night. I was judging a So You Think You Can Drag contest, and Araya Sparks is hosting it. They're doing several of them, and then there's going to be a finale, just like the So You Think You Can Dance event, but it really was incredible. Downtown was packed when I got here. The parking deck was full. There was no place to park anywhere, which was such a good thing. Every restaurant was full. We went out afterwards, and the restaurants were still full. Prohibition Hub, I mean, I'm surprised, you could hardly even get in there. It was a really, really awesome time downtown, so we are on our way for sure. And then congratulations on the skate park. Groundbreaking today. It's been a heck of a day today, but that was really, really, really good turnout. And again, with the state of the city, I echo everything you guys said. Thank you for your participation and for everything that we've accomplished this year, and for staff, and just a really, really good momentum. And I think we proved this morning what we've all set out to do, and why we do this every day, right, is to improve the city and make progress. And I think if you attended this morning, if you watched the video, if you sign off of Facebook in the negative comments and actually pay attention to the reality of what's happening, that there's no way you can't be positive about our momentum. So I'm excited to be here. And lastly, shout out to our guest, our little future Simone Biles here. Thank you for attending. I'm sure you were bored to death, but we were happy to have you.
It's really important for her.
And with that, I will see you guys in Annapolis tomorrow for Washington County Day. We have the reception at the Calvert House for 5 to 7, and we're going and getting $20 million. So I will see you guys in Annapolis tomorrow. We're adjourned.
Are we adjourned?
Yes.
We're adjourned.
Round of
I was
applause
about
for
to-
today, y'all.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't mean that.
Pat yourselves on the back.
Shaping the best version of Hagerstown for years to come.
Made me so
This past year has proved that we are well on our way there. When I look at Hagerstown and think of the issues we face, I don't see them as issues. I see them as possibilities. We had a year full of tremendous progress and achievements. We are seeing growth all over our city, new businesses opening, community events being supported, and a sense that the city is really coming alive. During this State of the City, we are going to outline some of those achievements and hear from those who are helping to make it happen. Here are some of the reasons you too should believe in what is possible. The Department of Community and Economic Development has been incredibly busy managing a high volume of existing and prospective businesses and investors. The momentum in Hagerstown is undeniable, and many people are reaching out to be a part of it. DCED staff also sold many properties through our competitive negotiated sale process, putting city-owned buildings back in the private sector to meet the growth demands we are experiencing. Our Planning and Code Administration Department continued process enhancements to be business-friendly while providing fast, excellent customer service. One of those enhancements was the creation of an online permitting platform. They continue to fight to protect property values and community safety by enforcing property maintenance codes and working to encourage blight removal. The city was thrilled to be awarded $500,000 through the federal government to concentrate on blight removal, beautifying our city and improving the quality of life for all. Our engineering department has been hard at work. With the completion of Hatters Plaza and the second phase of the Cultural Trail between Antietam Street and Washington Street, we are at the end of the urban improvement project. Last year, we also saw the completion of the dredging and reconstruction of the Pangbourne Park Lake and restoration of Hamilton Run. In addition, we planted over 400 trees. Because of those efforts, Hagerstown was named a Tree City USA for the 36th year in a row. Our finance team has proved once again their ability to manage our citizens' tax dollars diligently, winning the Government Finance Officers Association Award and receiving yet another clean audit. They created the popular annual financial report to convey the financial results of the city to our citizens, which you can access on our website. Our utility department continued to provide a high level of service toward our customers 24/7, 365 days a year. While the work they do is often thankless and behind the scenes, I can say for sure we all appreciate them, as seen especially in times of an outage or issue, since they are always so quick to respond and find a resolution. The Hagerstown Fire Department is currently exploring station location options for optimal delivery of service to the city. They currently have $500,000 in the governor's operating budget for upgrades and replacement of our burn building to provide the best training opportunities, in turn providing the highest level of response to our citizens. Our Fire Marshal's office completed a record year of plan reviews, over 1,000 reviews, and 229 fire investigations. When they aren't fighting fire, the Hagerstown Fire Department participates in many community events, including Operation Warm. Each year, they provide a brand new coat to students in the Chusen Elementary School. It is truly a beautiful effort. The Hagerstown Police Department has been focused on community policing, training, and of course, keeping our community safe. In 2021, members of the HPD completed over 4,000 hours of non-academy training, including implicit bias, helping someone with a mental health issue, community policing, and more. They completed over 1,000 hours of training focused on use of force and de-escalation tactics. HPD has been working diligently to prevent violent crime, putting together task forces to investigate and arrest those doing the most harm in our community. We are pleased to report that data collected by the FBI shows our crime rate is down 27.68% since 2014. From 2020 to 2021, we saw a 9.14% decrease in crime. We believe one of the reasons the crime rate continues to decrease is the coordination with our community services that address root issues in substance use, mental health, and more. HPD partnered with those services using LEAD, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, and this year enhanced LEAD with our youth population. This provides an opportunity for low-level offenders to enroll in a treatment and wellness program and receive help that they need. Feeling and being safe in Hagerstown is our #1 priority, and we are pleased to see the hard work of the Hagerstown Police Department showing itself in the statistics as well as in the feelings throughout our neighborhoods. Our administration is focused on community unity and bringing back the crowds and excitement to Hagerstown. To do this, we are in the process of revamping and relaunching our Main Street program. We started with an advisory council, which hit the ground running, already finalizing a logo rebranding to celebrate downtown Hagerstown. Our Arts and Entertainment District is currently going through its 10-year recertification process. This also started with a new advisory council, who've been busy holding a listening tour and processing the results of an online survey with input on the new recertification. We look forward to a massive community partnership between these two groups, our existing arts and entertainment specialists, and any volunteer who want to join us in believing in all that is possible in Hagerstown.
In 2021, we brought the crowds back to Hagerstown thanks to free, family-friendly events such as the Imagine Hagerstown 4th Friday Music Series that took place in University Plaza from May through September. The Dolman Black Heritage Museum hosted Hagerstown's inaugural Juneteenth celebration with assistance from the city. The two-day event was rich in both history and hope. An impromptu first-ever downtown Halloween event included costume contests, haunted hijinks, and lots of fun. The traditional tree lighting on the square was highlighted by holiday musical performances, the arrival of Santa Claus, and of course, the lighting of the tree. And speaking of traditions, returning to its original format, the Middletown Valley Bank Crumpy's Donut Drop featured coffee, donuts, and fireworks. Those were some good times, but they're just a few examples of what's possible when we all get together in Hagerstown.
I'm looking forward to the proposed Hagerstown Fieldhouse becoming a reality. I think it's the best use for the old stadium to spur redevelopment of the East End and our urban core. It's a project the community has actually long desired and a public amenity that should certainly pay for itself long into the future. I know it's one of several big projects on the city's horizon, and I believe we've exercised the necessary level of transparency in securing the overwhelming public response for such a large public investment. The Hagerstown Fieldhouse will make it possible for the city to become the destinational mecca I've dreamed of, and I can't wait to see it filled with families.
Every year is a big year for Hagerstown Parks and Rec, but this past year was a banner year. Earth and Arbor Day events at City Park created a round-the-year impact with the planting of trees becoming a key component in creating the new Arboretum trails there. And the park was a major focal point in 2021 with the production of a 6-part video series on the history of City Park leading up to its iconic lake hosting fireworks for the first time ever as part of its 100th anniversary celebration. And that was in addition to the grand reopening of the City Park Train Hub in the spring, the installation and ribbon cutting for the park's education and fitness-oriented story walk in the summer, restoration work to preserve historic wine cellar near the Mansion House in the late fall, and an even more expansive and festive holiday lights and music experience illuminated the park in the winter. And again, that was just at City Park, illustrating just when you think we've seen and experienced it all, even more is possible.
Economic development continued to flourish in the city in 2021. North Point Development's 4-warehouse project on Vazel Boulevard saw the opening of the Amazon and Herbalife Nutrition Distribution Centers, part of the $169 million investment that has already generated over 1,000 new jobs. The public-private partnership also literally helped pave the way for the completion of the $6 million roadway reconstruction there, which finished up in late fall. Additionally, TerraSen announced its purchase of the former paper plant in Cascades Tissue Group facility across from Municipal Stadium. Their investment will not only create occupation of the long vacant facility, but it is expected to produce jobs too. And residentially, home builders were busy in the city last year as new home construction increased 156% from 2020. Couple that with the incentives included in the new and improved Hagerstown Home Ownership Initiative, and you get 2 refreshing indications of what's possible for anyone who wants to invest and live in the city of Hagerstown.
One of our main goals as an elected body was to be a community-oriented administration. We demonstrated that this past year in a number of different ways, including taking the input you provided through the community survey and implementing it into our own strategic plan. We also rolled up our sleeves and put on our gloves to join you in beautifying our neighborhoods during community cleanup days. And I was honored to take a lead role in organizing community meetings that have led to a plan to make much-needed upgrades to Wheaton Park. And that's just for starters. Stay tuned in 2022 for more of what's possible for your City Council.
The City of Hagerstown is fortunate to be a recipient of $20.4 million, $10.2 million of which was received in 2021 as a result of the President's American Rescue Plan Act. These funds are transformational for communities such as ours in an effort to recover from the setbacks and delays of civic projects due to year 2 of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Mayor and City Council have already approved expenditures from this initial funding to benefit our community in areas related to public safety, utilities, behavioral health, and in direct support of our city staff who continue to provide the high quality of services and support this community expects. It is safe to say that during the State of the City in 2021, there were few that expected we would still be in the midst of this pandemic, especially those that operate a small business. Again, the resiliency of our small business owners and the motivations and passions of those just entering into business, not only in our downtown but throughout the city, is inspiring and an example to the rest of the region as to the strength of our city to provide opportunity. Best-selling author Nicole Snow states, "A small business is an amazing way to serve and leave an impact on the world you live in." This could not be more true than here in Hagerstown. Let's hear from a couple of these small business owners that are indeed leaving an impact on our community.
And the Yarn Shop downtown, co-own the Yarn Shop downtown with my husband Brian, as well as Knowles Fire Protection. We also own the ice cream shop next door. We own Knoll Realty Holdings, which has several properties, one of which is the Alsatia Club here in town that we recently purchased.
Our background starts in Brunswick, Maryland. We We opened our first brewery almost 6 years ago in the Brunswick Fire Hall. Limited on space, big building, limited on space, so we decided to expand into Frederick.
Coming to Hagerstown was always kind of in the back of our mind. Being in Frederick County is great and all, but you know, with 2 locations that are 20 miles from each other, we kind of wanted to branch out.
It definitely was an idea that I had and a dream that I had, and I went to my childhood best friend and I said, I want to open a juice bar, and her response was, I'll quit my job today. We wanted a storefront. We wanted something that you could directly walk into, windows, look in, sign. We wanted that whole feel of, you know, the downtown area.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited about personally. Downtown, you know, I've lived in Maryland my whole life. You know, visited most of the big cities in Maryland, and the architecture in downtown Hagerstown is absolutely beautiful. It's really cool, really unique, and I'm really excited to be a part of that.
What appeals to me about downtown Hagerstown is it was a lot about perception versus reality of what downtown Hagerstown is and presents. It's not what is actually happening on Facebook. It's not your perception. The reality of it is that I will walk out here at night when it's pitch dark and I will have nobody approach me and I am perfectly safe. And my customers are safe too. There is a vibrant community and you can see it starting to emerge. And people want to come into downtown Hagerstown. They want to spend money in downtown Hagerstown.
I would say if anyone's thinking about coming downtown or not coming downtown, I would say run to downtown.
10 years ago, I would not have most likely considered Hagerstown. But there's something in the air. People here know better than we do when we're figuring out and getting a feel for it. There is an energy. I have to give credit to the mayor. She has great foresight.
It's really nice to see things changing and a more diverse downtown Hagerstown. People are working together. It's energetic. It's great to see a mayor and council that when there was a problem, for example, I know that people were complaining about the trash. They didn't just sit there and call somebody. They got out trash bags and they walked the city and they had a couple cleanup days and they cleaned it up. It's really nice to see somebody doing something within the city and not just delivering lip service.
In addition to that, people always try to compare downtown to other downtown areas. We're not Frederick downtown, we are Hagerstown downtown, and we need to embrace that. You know, always, like I had to tell the middle school today, like, you have an idea, go for it. So I'm just here to encourage people, if you want to open a business, there's so many grants that are, you know, just revitalizing the downtown area. Take advantage of that. You know, this is historical, you know, like, so let's just build together. You have an idea of a business, open it, and just watch the support that you get from the downtown.
The city has been beyond expectations as far as support, information, communication. I joke with some of the staff. They truly act like they work for a for-profit organization, and that's great. That's refreshing.
Yeah. It's remarkable that we can get email responses at 11 p.m. You know,
Yes, they're going out of their way, and that's also why I'm sharing this experience with other people that are outside of Hagerstown. It's very encouraging, and they've made it very friendly and very easy for us so far.
A lot of people told us to expect controversy, to expect the city to hold us back because we were a Black-owned business coming downtown. They told us all these bad things, and so we were kind of like, oh gosh, we never encountered one thing.
Never. Even when we did our ribbon cutting, once the city put that out there, it just really, our doors really flooded.
We did so well in the 2 hours of our ribbon cutting, we had to close that day.
Yes,
because we ran out of stuff, and if like our produce wasn't coming until the next day, we wouldn't have had anything to open up the next day. So we actually left and celebrated that day because we had such an awesome day. We even had a commissioner come out and he said, I don't come downtown too often. It takes something special to bring me out, and he presented us with a certificate as well.
When I had gotten word that the Alsatia Club, because they're a nonprofit and due to COVID, it knocked down their funds, I knew that the building was getting ready to come up for sale from somebody that I know through the Alsatia Club. So we decided to purchase that building. We decided that investing in downtown Hagerstown is what we wanted to do. There's going to be a stadium in downtown Hagerstown. We are seeing the revitalization and the growth happening now. As a business owner and as somebody who's able to, we decided to commit ourselves to downtown Hagerstown and to seeing it grow by helping out by investing our funds into it.
We fell in love with this building immediately. We knew this was the space that was going to be a production-sized brewery. So that is our intention, is to expand our production to a 30-barrel brew house.
Another thing that we're really excited about is the space in our parking lot that allows for a lot of opportunities in terms of events, especially during the spring and summertime. We're really big fans of live music, and I'm excited to be able to have anything from food truck festivals to mini beer festivals to live music. That parking lot space really opens up a lot of opportunities.
What's possible in Hagerstown? Anything is possible in Hagerstown. Your dreams are possible in Hagerstown. A person that knows nothing about politics, it is possible in Hagerstown for you to learn that. It's possible for you to run for any city office in Hagerstown. It's possible for you to open up your own business. It's possible for you to be an amazing person in Hagerstown.
Baseball player Tommy Lasorda said the difference between the impossible and the possible lies in a person's determination. I believe the same thing can be said about Hagerstown. Together, we are determined to make Hagerstown the ideal place to live, work, and thrive. Together, we are determined to inspire people to become engaged and enthusiastic about the changes we are experiencing. Together, we are determined to support our local businesses, take pride in our neighborhoods, and care about each other. What is possible, you may have asked before? I think if we have learned anything this year and throughout this presentation, it's that when we come together and work hard, anything is possible. Hagerstown, it's our time.